Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 8 and 9. Mostly, we're going to talk Battle of the Bastards because this is the episode where everything happened. Yeah, so, Emily, what did you think of Game of Thrones? Because we're behind 2 episodes and a lot
Yes.
happened.
Yeah, the episode prior certainly pales in comparison to what we got this week. So I guess, we'll start with the big stuff and we'll loop around and come back for the rest. But I'm not really a sports fan, but when it comes to watching battle episodes in Game of Thrones, I am on my feet. I am screaming, like I'm sloshing my beer everywhere. I was legitimately, just sitting watching this episode by myself, like I was going insane. I was yelling at my computer throughout. It was just such a bombastic, huge, in-your-face, visceral episode, and I love that so much of the battle, we were in the midst of it. There were a few times where we got to kind of zoom out and take in the scope of the action and see the different military maneuvers that were taking place, and that was really cool too. But it was so interesting to be kind of thrust into the violence with John's character. And there were points where he was like getting crushed, like almost choked out just from the bodies that were stacked on top of him. It was crazy. So I think as far as like ranking battle episodes go, this one might be one of my favorites just because of how relentless it was. Gosh, I don't even know. Like there was so much that happened. What did you think? We can bounce back and forth on different topics.
Oh, I have so many happy thoughts about this episode. I want to mention really quick something that might be perceived as negative, but I promise it's not.
Yes.
I've heard several complaints that Jon Snow was stupid in this episode. He was, but I think that was the point. Like, he acted emotionally because Ramsay got him. He underestimated his opponent, and he got a bunch of people killed because of it. So I think people saw that like as a writing mistake. I didn't like at all.
No.
Like
it was totally like, it made sense to me. I was upset, but not in that meta sense of like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, really? No, it's like it's in Jon's character to act and behave and feel this way because he's very emotionally driven. He's always been very, very moody, very much in tune with his different senses and feelings, and just in the thick of that, We've seen that in how he struggled with leadership when he was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and he's constantly trying to assess his surroundings. But yeah, he made an emotion-driven judgment call in that moment. I knew it was going to happen. We all did, but that didn't make it bad. So yeah, I did hear a couple of people saying like, oh, it was just so predictable or whatever, and it's like, yeah, that's exactly what was supposed to happen. Like, it couldn't have gone down any other way. The one to step back and try to see things objectively at this point was Sansa, because she has been on that ice cold path to revenge. So I personally loved the sort of balance between their characters. And Sansa did ultimately get a very gruesome final moment in the episode that was, to some extent emotion driven. But yeah, I think it worked for me, honestly. It was really all about the characters throughout.
Yeah, that's the big thing about these battle episodes, is that they're very character driven. I think the one at the wall wasn't as character driven, but even then they still have character moments, and that one's also fucking awesome.
Yes.
No, this one was like entirely driven by emotions and characters, and we'll talk about Daenerys and her stuff too, because that wasn't boring either.
Yeah.
But the stuff in the North obviously took the precedence, set the title. It's what the episode's named after.
Yep.
And I really liked how Sansa actually didn't tell Jon about Littlefinger's army, because if they were there, they would have just gotten all wrapped up in that too, and there wouldn't have been enough of them. Like, because I don't think there were that many more, right? It's just that they swooped in and
Yeah, they were
Jon's
able to
army,
break the
yeah,
line. They were just right there. So
yeah.
it turns
yeah.
out that it was very strategic on her part. I saw a lot of people, some of the early reviewers who were talking about the episode were like, you know, it would have been so much easier, but then it's like, would it? You know, there was a lot of loss of life, and there was a very, very close call with how they got completely and utterly surrounded. But dramatically speaking, it's more entertaining for the audience to see this like bum ba bum, here they come to save the day, and it's so not the kind of thing that you would expect to see in the context of the show even. So it was a nice surprise. It made sense that Sansa would withhold that information. I don't think she likes to be very forthcoming about any connection to Littlefinger, which nobody really should. But it turns out that to some extent things worked out for the better.
Yeah, and obviously we got to talk about the direction in this episode. Michael, shoot, I am so sorry I forgot your name, son, but he directed last year's Hard Home as well. Michael Sapochnik, I believe that's how it's pronounced. He is phenomenal. He clearly just earned himself a job in Hollywood, because this stuff was just out of this world. I was so invested in what was happening on screen, because his direction's really grimy and ugly. Like, you know, like it's about as close to as good versus evil as you get until you get the White Walkers versus everyone, you know? But it's not clean. And part of me wanted it to be more clean just because that's what, you know, in fantasy storytelling, that's what you're used to, good versus evil.
Yeah.
And this one, it is close to good versus evil, because Ramsay's basically a cartoon character and how evil he is sometimes. But yeah, you're like you said right now, it's messy, it's ugly, and you feel it. Like, you feel every arrow going to someone. You feel the arrows going to Rickon even after he's dead, which is just
oh my gosh.
Like, that character, nobody really loved that character because he just didn't have that much to do. But I mean, yeah, but you I think the good direction of this episode, you feel the impact of it. So while we may not be attached to him, Jon and Sansa are. And so even when Sansa's saying, like, you know, Rickon's gone, basically, like, she's not saying it to be cold, she's saying it to be real. And that's really impressive to me, how far her character has come.
Yeah.
Given, like, how emotional she got in the second episode over her dog and all that stuff with Arya and Joffrey.
Yeah.
And it's, this season's so good, again, because all these victories, they're so well earned by this point. And it might be quote unquote traditional storytelling, but it's also good storytelling, because these are just the natural conclusions for the story. Like, these are the most satisfying story routes to go. Like, hypothetically, if Ramsay and his army had killed Jon, the wildlings, and everyone there, then what comes of that? You know, like, it's not dramatically satisfying. It's like, well, I just wasted all of this time.
Yeah.
Like, if that happened around season 3, like, if that was the Red Wedding instead, and it was a battle like this, then that makes sense, because you have X amount of story to go.
Yeah.
Here, you're nearing the end game. You need to start setting everything up for the final confrontations and everything. So yeah, the fact that I was convinced Jon was gonna die like 3 times during this episode, even with that in mind, like, going in, I was like, well, Jon's gonna, like, they're gonna win.
Yeah.
And then,
like,
you know Jon
that
falls off the horse. Yeah, I'm like, oh, their horses are getting really close. And then he gets saved at the last second. And then, oh, he's suffocating. He's gonna die like nothing. It's all for nothing. And then he gets saved. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Oh, Jesus.
Man. Yeah.
So that's the mark of good direction. And that is the mark of excellent storytelling. Or excellent on both counts. That was just... Whew. Yeah, that left me exhausted.
I was exhausted by the end of that episode, because I was just I couldn't help but be so over the top invested in every moment, because even though you go into the episode with this inkling of a belief that yes, they are going to win, it's that question of at what cost. and it could be any cost, you know. And so just like as soon as we are thrust into the battle with Jon and just completely enveloped, only momentarily coming up for air to see like, oh look, here comes the army coming to surround you and poke you to death. And it's like there was a lot of the action was really varied too. Getting to see all the different combat styles, how people fought their way out of every corner that was created on the field. And Tormund got a couple of pretty badass moments too. He bit out is it Lord Umber's neck?
Yeah, that was one of the Lord Umbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gross. That was gross, and I loved it.
I had a little Walking Dead flashback to that scene with Rick fighting that one guy.
Oh yeah, that was great too.
Yeah, pretty nasty. But
yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'll get to my sad thing in a second.
yes. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I was just watching Ramsay's face throughout the episode, because he is so far removed from all of this. He's just giving the commands, and it was really cool to just see that stark contrast between himself and Jon, like Jon who has come back from the dead and then ultimately comes out on the other side just like caked in blood and dirt. And it was so just like, oh yes, because there's that pasty clean white bastard on the other side, just ready to get his ass handed to him. And I loved their final confrontation when Ramsay was just shooting him and Jon was just like, nope, punch. That was it was just satisfying. That is the word that I keep using. I was talking to my hairstylist today. We are both fans of the show, and once again, it was another hour of us sitting there going back and forth about this episode. But what were you gonna say? Your sad thing?
Well, first, it's a happy thing, because when Jon, the giant, and Tormund crawl out of that pile of bodies, and Jon is just fucking feral, like he is just ready to eviscerate Ramsay for everything that's happened already. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah, like kill him.
Yeah, get him now.
Yeah, and then the three of them just roll up to Winterfell. I was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool.
Yeah.
And then Tormund breaks down the door, and then he gets shot with a million arrows and then dies. And I was like, I fucking hate this show. I hate it so much. I have no reason to like that character as much as I do, but I'm like, yo, you got a giant on your side, and he likes Jon Snow. He's the first one to root for Jon Snow to help him take back his home, and then he dies. I'm like, oh fuck you, you know, like fuck.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And yeah, Jon beating the shit out of Ramsay was great, and I like that he acknowledges, okay, this motherfucker has got to die. But yeah, no, it's Sansa's.
By her hands, not mine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was satisfying as well, mostly because it reminds me of the Hannibal movie adaptation, where the villain there is eaten by a bunch of pigs.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's gross too. But part of me wishes that Sansa hadn't killed Ramsay. Mm-hmm. But I think because she's finally learned how to play the game, she's like, I can't have mercy.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't. Like that's clearly the high route, the mercy route, and just keep him locked up in a dungeon until he dies. Mm-hmm. You know. But she's like, nah, fuck that.
Going down. It was very poetic justice.
Yeah, and you know, in the real world, I wouldn't agree with that either, because you know, I mean, he's super fucked up and he should be locked away forever.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else, like there's no reason to keep him around. He would probably just try to fuck with more shit. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have anything else to contribute. He doesn't have the army anymore.
Yep.
So I'm very glad my theory about them having to team up with him was like debunked after this episode. So that, yeah, you know, good. He's dead. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that was a hell of an episode, and we're still not done because
I know
there's one more episode. Oh, and then Marine for this episode.
Yeah.
I have so much love for the team that they've amassed over there. Like, really, this entire season has been satisfying in its own right, but I love that they're setting up like all these sides for the final confrontation, whatever form that takes, whether it be against the White Walkers, Daenerys and her dragons, whatever the fuck is happening in King's Landing. I have a theory. I forget if I mentioned the theory, what's going to happen there, but I'll mention that at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But the Marine stuff is more interesting than it's ever been. I love, there's this picture going around when Daenerys got back, and she's like, who's responsible for this? And so everyone's like, Tyrion, Tyrion, Tyrion. Then it cuts to Tyrion, and he's like, Tyrion. He's like, oh, wait, damn
it. Yes, I had seen that.
Yeah, that was great. And the way that they dispatched of the Masters was also very satisfying. You know, I mean,
yes.
I think the Marine stuff went on a little too long too. Kind of like the Arya stuff went on. It didn't need to be as long as it was. But by the time they start wrapping everything up, it's full of intrigue. It's full of satisfactory character moments. And you feel like something has been accomplished, even if the wheels weren't always in perfect motion and succession with one another. So,
yeah,
very happy to see where that goes. And Theon and not Arya. Ooh, no, Theon and Yara, excuse me, are in Marine now and have teamed up. And Yara and Daenerys are probably gonna hook up at some point. I don't know. But I saw that going around, and I was like, yeah.
Anything's possible, man. You know.
Yeah.
I think they're both up for whatever.
Yeah, you know, I mean, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I'd ship that.
I like that they also only burned one ship, or I'm sure they burned a couple more just to make a statement. But
yeah,
because that's a lot of ships they could use to get to Westeros, and Lord knows they need them. Oh yeah, so this is great. This wraps up all the Sons of the Harpy stuff. Maybe all the Marine stuff. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna spend the next episode there. I think there's some stuff in the trailer for the finale. And yeah, I mean, I don't see how next season doesn't start with them at least heading to Westeros, you know, or maybe the end of the season is them heading there finally.
That's actually what my hairstylist and I were theorizing, is that one of the last moments that we might see in the finale is them, you know, like sailing off into the sunset or something. I mean, for as cliche as that would be, it's like it's about time. You know, she's got the second son, she's got the Dothraki, she's got the Unsullied. Like, she has massive amounts of manpower. She now has ships, courtesy of the Greyjoys. She could very well be primed and ready to roll, which I wonder what that's going to mean for Tyrion and company. But I'm really glad that she, you know, didn't punish him, or at least not yet, for the way that things went in her absence. But it seems like she has a lot of trust in him, and that they have a reasonable connection. So yeah, I hope that they continue to stay on good terms now that what's done is done and the dragons are out. So yeah, it was very thrilling to get to have kind of these two battles in one where the stakes were relatively low, because I mean, dragons, they're pretty OP, but it was very beautiful to see. It was very exciting and exhilarating. And then we had this down on the ground, super gritty, intense, in your face, like throat ripping battle. And so it was a good balance, and good progress was made. So these are the episodes that we all live for, and that provide a lot of forward momentum. So yeah, next week I don't really know what to expect other than what we saw in the trailers, because there's so many other little things that they could weave in if they wanted to. But it looks like we're at least going to be spending some time in Marine and King's Landing and Winterfell. So the rest is bonus.
So yeah, let's talk quick predictions then, because I got one for King's Landing that is going to make me explode if I don't say it.
Say it now.
I think because Cersei is losing it, and she realizes she's lost everything. Who is Natalie Dormer's family? The Tyrells. The Tyrells are still in play, But Cersei doesn't know that. And so because I think she's going crazier, when she asked her advisor or what's his face, whatever, about that thing she has to check it out. Oh, fire! Excuse me, there was a fireworks that just went off.
Woo!
The Game of Thrones has everyone excited here in LA, so just excuse that.
Of course.
I think she was asking about the wildfire. So, yeah, which is really weird that I was about to bring that up as a firework went off, but whatever. I think that's just a sign that I'm right. So I think she's going to burn the city down, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Which would make it a lot harder to unite everyone under the banners when the eventual White Walkers make their way south of the wall. But who knows? I mean, I think that's going to happen. Oh, and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just assuming that's happening in the future. Yes. So not for the finale, just down the line.
Yeah.
They sure like their fireworks today. And final prediction, Varys, I think, has left to go form an alliance with the Dornish.
Oh, that would make sense. Give them something to do.
Yeah, be like, hey, we heard you guys have some trouble coming up with interesting stories. We just figured out our interesting stories after last season. Why don't you come over to ours? Yeah,
Yeah. Now that would make sense, because then otherwise it's like the last time we were there, I mean, oh gosh, it was like, wasn't it the premiere or something?
Yeah, it was the premiere.
Yeah.
Well, they're just like, we don't know what to do, so just fucking kill half the cast here, and they did. And I was like, oh man, this is ballsy. What's next? They just left it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is for the best after how it turned out last year.
It's Alaria and the Sand Snakes are doing their thing, apparently. So I think that would be a good way to bring things together, in the spirit of kind of ushering everyone towards the end game, because there's a few stragglers, and the Dornish are among them. So I would say that is a very reasonable and sensible prediction, because, why would we have wasted any of this time with them if not for them to play a role in the war to come? So I would share that prediction. I've also heard about the wildfire theory, and it is one that I am very much a fan of, because, like you said, Cersei has lost pretty much everything. Now, at this point, I do recall there was a scene from the trailer for the finale with Jaime and the Freys, and it looks like they're in a dimly lit hall enjoying a meal or something. I don't know, but apparently we're gonna be back in the River Run area and such. So I don't necessarily know what that's gonna mean, but I do think that Cersei is losing it. Pretty much everything that she has been banking on has been taken away from her. We're going to see at least the trial for Loras with the Seven Septons, I believe. Is Cersei's trial still coming, or?
I think that's happening then too. Or they might delay it. I forget how long they said it was going to take till they got to it, but it might be next episode. There was a lot that was happening, so we forgot. It might be.
Yeah, because she was there when the whole trial by combat thing was made not a thing anymore, and so it seems like I could imagine something big going down with the Tyrells this upcoming week, perhaps. But yeah, I guess my main prediction is that we are going to end with Daenerys riding off into the sunset. That's what I really want. And I shall predict it. So as far as other stuff, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see Arya or Bran or Sam or some of the others in this episode. We might, but I don't know. I mean, they can pretty much do whatever they want at this point. But it looks like the Red Priestess is in trouble with Davos now, so that's a little thing. I think there's going to be a little bit of Winterfell drama. Yeah, now that Davos knows what happened to Shireen, and I'll be curious to see what goes on there, because the Priestess hasn't really had much to do this season other than saving Jon, which is kind of a big deal. but I'll be curious to see what this dawn of a new era means for her, because she's kind of sticking with Jon, I think, because clearly the Lord of the Light wanted him to come back, but as to whether or not she's going to remain in his council, I guess we'll see. I'd like to see more stuff with her, but yeah.
Yeah, well said. And this isn't so much a prediction, but just the last time we were in the phrase hall, things didn't work out great for everyone.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if there's going to be like a weird role reversal where somehow all the Freys die.
Yeah.
This season's all about comeuppance, so
Mhm.
like that would be interesting to me to see how they do that. Like realistically, I'd like to see Jaime, or not realistically, I guess. I'd like to see Jaime just mow them down, just be like,
Just
fuck it, you
murder 'em
guys are all
all.
assholes.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm tired of my family and like our King's Landing bullshit. Just like I'm tired of these fireworks now. But yeah, so that I'd be happy with that. And that about wraps it up for my thoughts. But anything else you got?
I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right. I guess I don't think we'll see Arya or Bran. You know what? I think we will see Bran.
Yeah.
I think we'll see Bran for like a scene, but I don't think we'll see Arya. I don't think we're gonna see Gendry either. I'm wondering if they're ever gonna bring him back. He's not important to the overall stuff, but I'm just wondering if they're ever gonna bring him back. Yeah, I mean, there's so many characters. I don't even have like a list of who's gonna show up and who's not anymore. But I don't think we'll see Arya next week.
Yeah, that's my guess. She's probably gonna surface next season, because I'm guessing whatever she's doing, she's in transit, so she'll get where she's gonna go, and I will look forward to seeing her then.
All right, that about wraps it up for us then. Emily, where can the people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at MIghty Sophia. It's EM, the word mighty, SOFIA. I do lots of TV stuff on my channel as well, and of course Game of Thrones. So yes, I will be there for the finale. You can also find me on both Facebook and Twitter at MIghty Sophia as well. So those are kind of my trifecta of places. I am actually also on Twitch.tv. MIghty Sophia once again. In the future, I actually hope to be streaming some video games there, so that's going to be a new thing. But yeah, so I guess it's kind of 4, not a trifecta anymore. But that's where you can find me.
Quadfecta? Is
Quadfecta. Yeah, it is.
And yes, Quadfecta.
Yes, Quadfecta.
And over on my end, you can find me on the YouTubes here, The Waffle Press, Diego Crespo. I start doing a monthly type 1 second a day thingy. I also make weird YouTube poop videos that make me laugh because I got time on my hands. Or I don't have time on my hands, but I do them anyways. Of course, The Waffle Press. Like, subscribe if you like this video. If you didn't like it, like, subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. On Twitter, Dago Waffles. Audiences everywhere. Links down below. And the do-to-do. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. We have been professionally unprofessional.